everyone. We're so glad to be able to come before you this afternoon, and we thank God for blessing us to come together for our leadership platform this afternoon. And this is the first time that we're going live with Let's Talk with Gullie leadership. And we're so thankful for that. And we thank God for that. So we're going to talk about, at this time, about leadership. We're going to talk about how God has really blessed us. And so this is a year in review, looking back and moving forward to be better leaders. And that's what we're striving to do, is to be better leaders. And this is what God would want us to do. And this is what we want to do. So I'm going to kind of go back over from January of 2024 up into the date. Then co-pastor Janice is going to come in after myself, and she's going to get some information about moving forward. So in January, she actually talked about leadership past and present. And the question that came forth is the old way better? It does not necessarily need to be so. And also, leaders always know what's best? No. Leaders do not always know what's best. And then we have to, and a leader, but we have to invest in one's leadership skills. That is going to training, seminars, talking to other people in leadership. And so a leader knows the way, goes the way, shows the way. And that's what John Maxwell had said in one of his books. And so the present day leadership is more of a team approach, open door and open guideline policies, and need to know what the team and the individual's needs are. In the olden day, that one person decided everything. This is what it is. You take it and you go with it. If it's not my way, the doorway, you have to get out of that. That's not a good thing. Then on February, we actually had Dr. Susanna Wu Pong Calvert, and she talked about self-transcendent leadership, the importance of our modern world. And so basically, we have to go beyond and above the standard, what we normally would do. We have to excel. We have to go forward. We have to go hard, and to be that leader, to surpassing the ordinary, to be exceptional. Again, we have to be able to listen to those who we are leading, those who are our superiors, those who are lateral to us. So it's all about going to the next level, going up higher, because stagnant water that's not running becomes stagnant. It becomes putrefied. It becomes it's bad. So we want to always be learning, excelling, moving higher to be better leaders. Then in March, we talked about leading with integrity. And that was my friend, Superintendent Charles Ramey Sr. And he talked about the different generations. In other words, each generation has its own specific needs. And integrity is a commitment to moral principles. What was done in my generation may not necessarily work the approach to the next generation. So he broke it down somewhat. The baby boomers were from 1946 to 1964, and I'm a baby boomer, and were the most significant growth actually in the church. And that was like, wow. Then you had the X generation, 1965 through 80. They valued their independence. Then the millennial, 1981 to 96, it was synergy, culturally centered, and actually less reliable. That's the generation. The Z generation from 1997 through 2022, high performers stand up for any beliefs. So we as leaders in any organization that we're leading, religious or non-religious, or faith-based or non-faith-based, we have to know the people that we are leading. What are the generations? What gap or generation do they fall in? We can't get rid of the baby boomers in this generation and bring in all new, because the baby boomers may not be so technically advanced, but they have experience. Then the newer generation coming in, they still wet behind the ears. So what we got to do, be able to bridge all the generations to make that organization successful, from the church, from my home, from church and beyond. Because believe it or not, sometimes in our home, we have many generations. You've got the mama and the daddy, you got the grandparents, you got great grandparents, and some great great grandparents in the same house or in the same proximity. So we can't throw one generation out. We have to be able to bridge. And that's the key word, bridge. We're going to have to be able to bridge. Then in April, we're talking about being a good leadership ambassador. And that was Jenny Sappington she's an outreach coordinator for Mental Health of America, Virginia. A leader must recognize boundaries. Oh boy. Have you ever seen a leader all over the place? That's not a good leader. Now, I'm going to confess something. I'm smiling as I'm saying it. I love volleyball. And we still play as seniors. My Pastor Jay is smiling. She has gone gung-ho on chair volleyball. When people say chair volleyball, let me tell you, getting up and down in the chair, moving around just like the regular volleyball, it is something. But in our younger years, we played outside in the volleyball. And because I wanted to be on the front line, I did not want to rotate. Then I didn't stay in my position. I was all over everyone. I was not a good team player because I thought I was, pretty good with it. But I had to learn, and it was difficult, I had to learn to stay in my boundaries, stay in my lane. And that's now we were playing, even though I'm very competitive. A leader that does not, or leaders that do not know how to stay in their lanes or stay in the boundaries will cause the ship to wreck. I might be talking to someone today, right now, tonight, about that. So recognize boundaries and stay in the boundaries. We have to be able to trust others. And another one, don't shame the ones that you're leading or working with, whether superiors, your counterpartners, or those you are leading. Don't shame them. Call the people to the sides. Then recognize the strength and weaknesses of yourself and of others. Because believe it or not, shocking news, none of us knows it all. None of us, not a one of us knows it all. A good leader will recognize his or her weaknesses and strength and those that they are leading. You need to read the audience. You can't always go by the facial expression, body posture, but they're very important. You got to be able to read the audience. And the last one in this, be a good listener. This is something, and I thank the Lord he gave this to me probably a couple of months ago. And basically, for me, is to stop. Sometimes we can't physically stop, but we can stop and slow down our emotions. Stop. Listen. Stop, listen, and think before reacting. This is what I have been saying for a while. Uncontrolled passion is like a wildfire that can set on fire the whole course of nature. That's why we have to listen. That's why we have to stop, listen, and think before reacting, because we can tear up everything. You ever seen someone, a leader who goes postal? This is a true story that I heard about some time ago. It was this leader actually in a religious organization. And this was way back in the day. And he had this lady who worked for him, and she wanted to take a day off or leave early to go to a family funeral. And he basically told her, if you leave, you're fired. And she's been there for decades. And he was reported, but the leaders over him said, well, he gets the job done. But look at the collateral damage. It's just like when a storm comes through and you see everything torn up. Some leaders are so focused on themselves and their successes, they'll get the job done. But how many people, spirits did they kill? That's very important that as leaders, we listen. We cannot afford to have this attitude that I'm the leader and that's it. No, 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 no. Somebody has someone, no matter how high you are, someone is over you. Well, I'm the CEO, then you got a board. Well, then you have the consumers. If the consumers don't come and get your product, guess what? You're just a leader who is basically leading no one. Okay, very important. Then in May, and this one really, really touched me, the importance of self-care in leadership roles. And that was Antaya Jenkins. She's a professional counselor at Bright Point College, used to be John Tyler. And some of the points she had mentioned, the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's health. We're going to have to look out for ourselves in order to lead others. If we get burnt out, how effective are we? The practice of taking care of an active role in protecting one's well-being and happiness is particularly during periods of stress. We all have stress that come at us, but we have to make sure we keep our stress level down in order to lead ourselves, in order to lead others. And here's some key elements of self-care. Listen to these. Got to take care of our physical selves. Get plenty of rest. Exercise. Spiritual self-care. The physical, I say the physical, emotional, spiritual, societal, intellectual, fighting stress, meditating. And it was quite a few of them. But in a nutshell, in order to lead other people, in order to be there for people, we're going to have to take care of ourselves. A sad leader is this, who runs and put out all fires and their health is torn up. This is another story back in the day. This pastor, and he's now looking at him, the younger himself, the younger person. He said in the earlier years, he would have done this differently. He was sitting at the table with his wife and children, more advanced age children, and the phone rang. And a lady from his church called him and said, Pastor, my marriage is breaking up. I think her husband had left her or leaving her. And he said, how long has this been going on? She said 5 years. This breaking up been going for 5 years. He said, well, I'll tell you what. Call my office on Monday and set an appointment. He said in the younger years, he would have left his wife and children right there and ran over there. He became a better leader because he spent time now with his wife and children at a nice dinner time. Don't be that leader that runs, and don't take care of oneself. Then in June, we talked about humble confidence. And I said, what? humble confidence. And this was Minister Tawan Nicholson. He's a senior director of enterprise. That's a network for organ sharing. So he's the director of on the IT. That's what it is. Well, this young man touched my heart because I met him about 33 years ago when he was just graduated from high school. And lo and behold, we came to their church. His father was Bishop Alfred L. Nicholson, the late, and we thank God for him. And missionary First Lady Iris Meeks Nicholson. Now their son, Jonathan J. Kyle, is pastor now, along with his wife, Keisha. But anyway, this young man touched me because I saw him grow up somewhat. And he talked about the humble confidence. We can't afford to be so humble and feel like we don't belong. We want to have an humble spirit, but don't do that and feel like I don't belong in this organization. You know, got all these big wigs and all this big organization. Then he said we can't be so confident that it leads to arrogance. We need to balance both of them. Confidence, yes, we need to have that. But at the same time, we got to be humble. But don't take humbleness for weakness. Some of the best leaders are those who can strike a balance between those two elements. Sometimes we need to be more confident than humble, and other times vice versa. So in other words, a humble leader or person, but a humble leader is not necessarily a weak leader. And especially those of us who are in Christ, we need to be humble. Then also exert the leadership or being able to make hard and difficult decisions. So we can be humble and confident in the Lord. And I will say that's the best leader. Humble and confident in the Lord. So that was really a good one. All of them were good. Then in July, we talked about the past and present leadership, and I spoke on those past and present leadership strategies. What worked yesterday may not necessarily work today. And I mentioned that about the different generations, or sometimes we can get lost in a time zone. That's the way we did it then. And I've heard people say that, well, this is the way that we did it then. Well, it might not work. It might not work. Let me give you an example. Try to do your business, personal, home business, church business. And I love writing. I do a lot of physical writing, even though I use a computer and all of that. But I love writing because I do a journal, a logbook. But try to do all of your business by paper and pencil, or ink and paper. Try to do everything now. It won't work necessarily. Some of the basics will, but we've got to be able to say that was yesterday. Let me learn from it and let me improve, because we can't get caught up. That's the way my daddy did it, my mama did it, my great-great-granddaddy. We better listen to the Spirit of God. And then, so what worked yesterday may not necessarily work today. Perception of leaders has changed. Leaders mean the people at the top, at the higher ups, like the executives, the elected government officials, and like. Nowadays, students, people look for people that's in their lives. People, they're kind of drawn away from the higher ups knowing everything. It's the everyday people who can lead us. The Bible says they'll be led by a child. Raising our children, they taught me some things. I'm the parent. But Daddy, won't you look at it this way? And especially in technology, seemingly the little babies, when they're coming out the womb, they almost got a computer or a phone. I remember a couple of our grandchildren, they were 3 and 4 years old, especially the last two. They knew how to get the control thing and do all of this and do all of that. And I'm looking at them. So in other words, they are really smarter than we were at this age when we were young. So we got to make sure that we don't get caught in this time warp. It worked that way yesterday. Now it's going to work this way today. That is a poor leader, and that should not be. Then in August, we talk about effectively leading through conflict resolution, and Pastor Jay taught on that. What is conflict? To be at variance or clash. What can cause conflict? When she worked at Bank of America for 44 years, and she has some situations, but because of her love for Christ and love of people, and there were many, many conflicts, she was able to talk people through. Sometimes people or one person would come to her about another person, and guess what she would say? No, 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 no. Go back to that person. Then you talk that out. Then, of course, if you need me to come in the middle, she would do it, but she wouldn't take sides. And that's what we need to do. Squash the conflict. Find out what the conflict is, what caused the conflict. And a lot of times, if you just listen to people, and she is definitely, Pastor Jay is a good listener. I'll say that any day. Sometimes a lot of times we just listen to a person or persons as they talk, they will come to the point of aha. You've had an aha moment. They start listening to themselves. Then they started realizing, oh, okay. That's how that conflict was squashed. But gotta be able to, sorry. So we got to be able to, of course, the phone would ring. I apologize. So we got to be able to listen, find out what the conflict is, and go forward. So that was definitely a good one. Then in September, we had a young lady that took over from Pastor Jay after 44 years in her position at Bank of America. And let me say this. She had done that particular job, I think, 30-some years. And she was working, had clients in India, working with India, California, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, different places, different time zones, different time of the day. And when she left, I think they had 3 or 4 people, at least 3 people to do her job. See, she was a dinosaur. You don't find a lot of people that way. And she was able to, at the end of her career or in a retirement, one of the higher ups, I think the COO of Bank of America, had her they did a simulcast where she was talking about various things. They invited her over, 10,000 plus people on virtual because of the anointing of God, whether they recognize it or not, and her leadership. So this young lady this is other young lady who used to work at Bank of America. This young lady talked about building your brand. Very important. What's your brand? Her name is Tonisha Jackson. She's VP of the Southern area of Truist Bank. Brand recognition and how they're perceived. Some popular brands. Nike. You see that swish, that symbol. Nike stands for athletic qualities. McDonald's, been there for eons. Even the little babies know McDonald's. Amazon with their logo. But as believers in Christ, what's our brand? Our brand, when people see our name, our brand, our name are believers, Christians. And when they heard that or see that, it should say that we're followers of Jesus Christ. That's the brand. Blood washed. And you're in a company. What does that company, the brand should represent that company? When we work for organizations, we are representing the brand. How many people in organizations have gone post or been in jail doing crime? That tarnishes the organization, the brand. We as believers, when we go haywire and don't repent, that put a black mark on the gospel, on the church. So she talked about building your brand. We should build our personal brand, our brand for our homes, our families, but especially as believers, our brand should be when you see me in a 2-3-piece suit, when you see me out in the yard cutting grass and in your jeans or whatever, the brand should say, this person is a person who loves the Lord. Ask yourself this question. We need to ask ourselves this question. What brand am I representing? When people see me, what do they see? Am I representing the organization well? These are some questions that we really need to look at. What's our value to the organization? Are we honest? Are we discreet and not sharing private information? Do we keep our promises? Do we help make people want to work for us? Or when you come in, they're scattered? Think about that. What's that brand? We need to be those leaders who add quality to the lives of people. And this one right here really got me. Know what you don't know. I started thinking about that. Know what you don't know. Know that you don't have the answer to everything. Know that you cannot solve every problem. Know that. You got to know that. In October, we talked about integrity when leading. Now, this is a young lady that replaced my wife, Valanda Cotman. And some of the points she had was how to behave when things are difficult. In other words, when things go south, what is your integrity? Integrity bases honest, strong morals, sound principles, doing the right thing. It's not all about being in control, because we do have control freaks in life. Take responsibility, and a good leader will inspire and encourage others. Those who trust leaders will possess a sense of empowerment and calm in the midst of the storm. Those who trust leaders will possess a sense of empowerment. In other words, one of the worst things to do is try to get people to respect you. No, respect others first. Show them that you're honest, responsible, that you won't throw them under the carpet when things go south. Then finally, we must lead by example. Now, everyone is a leader, whether a good leader or bad leader. We are leaders. Then last month, we had what it is to be a leader. That's James Case. He's a CEO and founder of LIT Foundation. He talked about a few keys about becoming a better leader. Good communication skills. And some of these are repetitions. Lead by example. Check oneself. Look at the man in the mirror. We need to look at ourselves and see, what are we doing? Where's our passion? Do we have passion for what we're doing? A lot of times people being in position because someone put them there, someone favored them over others, or they actually been there so long they've lost compassion. Attitude too. We need to check our character, our attitude, how we respond. Then again, willing to learn. We have to keep our egos at bay. Keep things professional. It's very difficult to lead people who you play with. In other words, if you are a leader, you got your buddies and you let them pass by, get over some things, and other ones that are not your buddies, you don't let them get by. It's going to come back and haunt you. But you got to be a leader that you don't take sides. A leader who puts the pride aside, the egos. Again, need to know one's team, need to know those who are we are leading. So that's my take on it. Pastor Jay is going to come back because I was talking about the past leadership or the people that came this year. And we thank God for the last several years we've been doing this. But I will say this before I hand it over to Pastor Jay. If you would like to speak on our platform for leadership and the mental health, please contact us. If you want to be in the audience, of course, you can come on the first Thursday of each month for the leadership and the third Thursday of the month for the mental health segment. We thank you all so much. And so this is coming through our personal ministry, Simple Balanced Life Ministries, and go to the website at sblministries.org and you can find out all that we do. So I thank you very, very much. Pastor Jay, it's in your hands.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on tonight. We are so elated to just be able to come to you. I was going to give an introduction of myself, but Pastor G pretty much covered everything about me being in corporate America for 40 some years and just a little bit about my background. But I'm thanking God as we are here tonight to you about leadership. Now, what he went over with you was everything that we kind of covered from the beginning of the year up until current time. And so once we've gotten all of this information and about leadership, and I'm thankful that we have this forum because this forum brings to us information about being leaders, how we are to conduct ourselves, things that we can learn to be better leaders. And so as we come into these forums month after month, we do it once a month, there's great information that people bring to us from these forums. So after we have gotten all of this information, now the question on the table is, where do we go from here? Moving forward as a leader, where do we go? What do we look for? He told us in the beginning of this session on tonight that a leader is one who knows the way. So you have a knowledge about being a leader. The leader is the one who has the vision, is the one who is, pulling everybody together, and they got the vision on knowing the way, going the way, meaning they are going to be the ones that can see and give the directions, but then the showing the way. And I like that part about it because, as John Maxwell says, as a leader shows the way, they're going to be the one who leads by example. And if you're going to be a great leader, an effective leader, a good leader, then you're going to definitely need to be one by example, who has integrity, the one who can give the direction, not just from your mouth, but can give that direction by your action, that others can look at you and they will know exactly what to do. Because why? Because you've been that example to them to show them the way. And that credit tonight comes from John Maxwell, one of the great leadership persons who gives some great information about being a leader. If you have never read his book about the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, I encourage you to pick that book up and just read it. He talks about the various aspects of being a leader. So if you're going to be a leader, what we have to do when we've gotten information, now we got to take this information and do what? Put it into action. That's going to be the key thing. And so the first thing that we need to do as a leader, as we have talked through the year, all of this valuable information, we have an awareness, right? So we've gotten the awareness about what it is to be a leader. And I want to just share with us too tonight that being a leader, and many people say, well, I'm not a leader. But being a leader is basically one who influences another. If you are a person that have influence, now I will say this, you can be a bad leader or a good leader. If you are a person who influences the life or the actions of another person, then you are a leader. So before we move forward about being a leader and what it means to be a good leader, there are some things that we must be aware of, being aware of, alert to. First of all, many people, they don't even like to accept the fact that they are a leader. But we all are leaders in one aspect or another. And for example, you can be, if you're a parent, you're leading. If you are in a place where you have peers, the peers are leading. They might not recognize it, but they are leading. If you are a lay member in a church, many people hide out in congregations and they don't view themselves as leaders. But if you are a lay member in a church or just a lay person in a home, you are a leader. If you're a trash collector, I just want to give you some examples tonight of leaders that many times we don't see individuals as leaders. But if you are a trash collector and you're going through your neighborhood or your community and you're picking up trash, people are watching you, and the way that you conduct yourself and do your job, you are leading people. You're leading people to do their best, or you're leading them to do a not such a good job, right? And so when we get the revelation of what it means to be a leader, some of the things, these are some of the things that have to take place. So we talk about awareness, but now we want to talk about first things first. When you are saying that you are a leader, first things first, acknowledge it, own it, own being a leader, and don't shy away from it. There are many people who like to go and hide in the cracks and the crevices, all because they don't want to take ownership of being a leader. Because when you are a leader, it puts you in a place of responsibility. It puts you in a place to say, I have to take ownership for this. And it puts you in a place where others are looking at you. And so that's what a lot of people don't like. They don't like for people to say, hey, did you do this? Or did you do that? Or was that right? Or was that wrong? They don't like to be pointed out. But all that is doing is making you to be an accountable person. So first things first, own up to being a leader. And like I said before, whether you're a good leader or not such a good leader, a bad leader, I will say, but own up to being it. Don't shy away from who you are, who God has made. And then take the necessary steps that are needed to be an effective leader. Because now you have to take this role seriously. We have to take ownership. And how do we do that? We do that by taking classes, getting yourself a mentor, getting somebody that can walk you through the process. Take ownership to this because, in the last days, we're going to have to give an account of what we know. We got to give an account of what we have gained, the knowledge we have gained. What did we do with it? So you know that you are a leader, but what are you going to do about that? Are you going to act on that? Or are you just going to be that one who cowers down and who sits back and say, I'm not a leader, I'm not a leader, I'm not a leader? And the next thing we have to do, we have to use all of the information that we have to build our brand. Pastor G talked earlier about building our brand and what that means. It means when others look at you, what do they say? Look at you, what do they say about who you are? You are building your brand as a leader. Are you integral? Are you that person who, when others look at you, they will say, oh, that's awesome? Or will they say, that's not so good? Whether you are in corporate America, or whether you are in your church, or whether you are in the community, what kind of brand are you building? Are you the church member that people say, I can't depend on them? Are you the person who, don't take your community efforts and volunteerism? Do you not take that serious? Or are you the corporate worker who is shisty on your lunch breaks, who is shysty on your getting to work timely or leaving and giving the man your full 8 hours of work. All of this, it represents the brand that you are building. What do others say about you when they see you, right? So the other thing is you seek by networking with others for their continuous feedback and for your growth and your development. Because being a leader, it calls for connection. It calls for connecting with other people. And sometimes there are some people who say, well, I'm a loner and I don't connect with people well. And, we have to learn how to get out of this box that we've been in for years. I was talking to someone today and I was saying, people, and this is just the way I am. And, so when I hear people say those types of things, those are people who are not willing to change. Those are people who are not willing to step out from their norm and step into some newness in life. I was that person. I was that person who felt like this is the way I'm going to be. But God began to show me a new me. He showed me a new Janice and how I could step out and be who he wanted me to be and live a purposeful life, a life that he intended me to be as a leader. And, I like to think of myself not as a bad leader, but one who can influence and impact people's lives in a positive way. So first things first, let's address all the points of who we want to be and who we aspire to be as a great leader, right? And then identify your strengths that based on your leadership qualities that you possess, and then leverage them across your life. And along with those strengths, we like to say, when I would interview people, I would say, give me one or two of your strengths. But along with that also comes with giving me one or two of your opportunities. So we have to recognize the areas that we need to improve in as well, so that we can grow and so that we can get better. Many times we like to maximize on what we do well. But to be a great leader and a good leader, you also have to acknowledge the areas of opportunity in your life. And it's better for us as individuals to acknowledge that we have opportunities rather than having someone else point those opportunities out to us. It's always better for me to say, Janice, you didn't do so well in this area, versus hearing somebody else say, Janice, you didn't do well in that area. So recognize that you have not reached that pinnacle in your life where everything is perfect and you've got it all together. Always acknowledge that we can do better and that there's something that we need to do to work towards getting better in our lives. Because to be an effective leader, first thing we must do is be true. What? True to who? True to ourselves. There's a saying that says, to thine own self be true. And so this is one of the things as a good and effective leader that we all need to do, is be true to ourselves. And then we want to, as we move forward as being a leader, a great leader, be proactive as a leader. Actively embrace change. A person that doesn't want to change is going to be a person who just sits and stinks, because that's what stagnant water does. It sits and it stinks after a while. Nobody wants to be around it. Nobody wants to smell it. Nobody wants to hear what they have to say because they are stagnated. You're going to be a proactive leader. Be actively embrace change. And then learn to adapt in new situations of life. Learn to be flexible, bendable, pliable, right? Learn how to say, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to adapt to a new environment. Not necessarily a bad environment, but I'm willing to adopt or adapt to whatever the case may be that causes the team or me to be able to grow. Consistently strive for improvement to help those around you and to help yourself as well. Strive to be a person of improving your life so that you're not sitting in the same type of mundaneness or what I've been used to, right? Get out of your comfort zones and be proactive to do that. Don't always be when I worked in corporate America, and I will be transparent to say they were always saying, Janice, you need to kind of go and learn new because you're good at what you do, but learn something new. And so I had to be that person. I was that person that had to be nudged a little bit because I didn't want to. I was good where I was, but as I was nudged, I learned that getting to know some things, new things, was better. It was good for me. It kind of broadened me. It rounded me to be a person, that could get along with people better, that was to open my learning to learn more things. Praise God. And so the last the thing that I want to share is that you got to be willing to learn and to evolve, right? We got to be willing to learn. If we are not a person that's being proactive in our learning, then we are people who are just, marking time. We're just marking time. We're not really getting anywhere in life. But we've got to be those people who are willing to learn and to evolve. And I always like to share a scripture based on the principles of life, right? Biblical, Proverbs 4:7. It says, wisdom is a principal thing, but with that wisdom, getting it, get understanding. And so as we talk about being a great leader, we got to get an understanding of what it means to be a great leader. Get an understanding of that, because that is the principal thing. That is the thing that once you get a hold of what it really means, then you can begin to apply the wisdom that comes along with that, and applying the knowledge of moving forward as an effective leader. And then lastly, be proactive and not reactive in your leadership approach. Don't wait for someone to tell you that you are a leader, but look within yourself and see the leader that is waiting to emerge within you. All right. So thank you so much for your time on tonight. And I hope and pray that Pastor G and myself have shared some information with you that will benefit you as you step out. I want to say to those who listen to this session tonight that I hope that you will step out and be the leader that God has purposely called you to be, because that leader is inside of you, just waiting to emerge. Your churches are waiting on you. Your jobs where you work in the corporate America, they're waiting on you. Guess what else? Your families, men and women, children, your families are waiting on you to emerge as that leader, to come out of that box that you've been sitting in for years on end. Come out and be the leader that you are supposed to be, and that leader that you are destined to be. Be that leader for whatever capacity of life that you're supposed to be in. Thank you so much for your time. I will give this back to you, Pastor G, if you want to close us out tonight, and if you would have final words.
Thank you, Pastor Jay. And we,
Welcome.
again, thank you all. Thank God for you. Thank you very much. I want to say that you can make comments on social media, especially Facebook. You may have a question or comment. You can do that. So as I'm doing this, I'm looking to see if there are comments, and I can respond to that. And also on this restream where we are doing Facebook and YouTube at the same time, if you would like to come in, of course, in the audience, we can have up to about 10 other people. I can put you in the audience, send a link, and you can be in the audience, and you can have questions and comments. We would love that. And also even tomorrow and the next day as you view this, put some comments in there. You might want to join. You may know someone who want to join. You may have a question, but we just want you to do that. Now, we're not doing these things just to be doing them. We're doing all of this to the glory of God and to help people with leadership, to help people deal with the mental challenges. As I've stated so many times with our New Horizon Mental Health Support Group, I want to say this, and again, you can find out more information through all the different things we've done. You can actually talk to me personally. But I just want to give you a little update how we did it started and why it was started, New Horizon Mental Health Support Group, because originally from North Carolina, my wife and I both, but I had a mental breakdown at 8 years old. Yes, it was difficult. And also, as far as the leadership, I went off to college and I became the freshman class president. How in the world did I do that? I don't know. I probably was one of the worst leaders, but I wanted to lead. I did not know how to lead. How I got there, I don't know to this day. But it was a desire in me. But through the process of being trained and going to school and seminars and doing presentations, I have learned over the years to how to be a better leader. So if any of you feel like I just can't do it, if God can do it for me, he can do it for you. Again, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you next month in January for Let's Talk with Gullie Leadership on the first Thursday of the month. And the third Thursday of the month, we will do our New Horizon Mental Health Support Group. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and please get in contact with us. Remember this: enjoy every moment of every day to the fullest intention.